most important thing we want to get out of today is have some discussion between some of the folks from the Secretary of Environmental Affairs, DCR, and the MWRA in particular around the issue of water quality. Revere Beach, Short Beach area, and to a certain extent Donovan's Beach as well. First of all, I sincerely want to thank and welcome Secretary Sullivan, Governor Executive Director Fred Lasky, DCR Commissioner Ed Lambert, not only for being here this morning, but for their working with our community throughout the year on a whole host of issues. And I sincerely want to thank them. To my colleague, Senator Petroselli, obviously has been working with me on this issue for a long time. All the members of the council and the Conservation Commission and everyone else here of interest. One of the issues that I was concerned about originally was a report which was issued which stated that in particular the North Shore issues of water quality were not as good, shall we say, as the South Shore. And that precipitated a call that I had with the folks behind me. As you know, as everyone knows, we've been very proud of the fact that obviously us being a beachfront community, the biggest gem that we have in our community are our beaches. And since the MWRA has come to inception, we've done extremely well in terms of water quality. And I became very concerned in terms of both short-term and long-term, in terms of what we could do to make sure that we keep that water quality at a high level so that folks within our communities could obviously come out to the beaches and enjoy the beaches. In reviewing the statistics which have been provided to us, it appears as though probably the issues that maybe certain parts of Lynn may have, shall we say, Point Kings Beach, whatever it's called, and really aren't the same really in terms of the problems that I don't think exist to the degree that they exist here. I think that Donovan's Beach is probably an issue that we have to take up. But what we wanted to come to today is where we're going to do coming forward. Obviously, there's some long-term solutions. But in addition to that, what I was seeking from the folks at Environmental Affairs was short-term solutions as well. Again, to make sure that people can enjoy these beaches on a short-term basis and not waiting for any long-term studies or fixes to come out. So that's why we're here today, is to hear from the Secretary, hear from Fred Lasky, hear from the Commissioner, to make sure that the water quality that we have in this particular part of the state is excellent, and that the folks here in the area can enjoy their beaches to the fullest extent possible. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to maybe Secretary Sullivan,
sure,
and who can talk a little bit about some of the discussions we have had and where we intend to go in the future.
Thanks.
The Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for your leadership on this issue that we're here for today, but really for an initiative that started 6-7 years ago with the Back to the Beaches initiative, which really saw a focus by the Commonwealth at our beachfront communities and the importance of our beaches in the cities and towns where they're located. I know Vivian Lee and Bruce and Pat Berman and others from the community really drove that discussion. The legislature, at the time Representative, now Senator Petroselli, serving on that, made the resources available. And I think some of the statistics that Fred Lasky was able to share with the Speaker today, specifically with Winthrop Beach and Short Beach, show that, in fact, there actually has not been a water quality issue. In fact, no hits in 2012 for the work that's been done on the ground by DCR in terms of the beach maintenance, sanitation work that's done there, and they've really done great work, and that is really through the support of the Speaker, the legislature, and Governor Patrick making the dollars available to make an impact. And you've seen, and will continue to see next month, additional capital investment in the beaches here at Winthrop. So that is all good. That being said, we are now looking to hold all of our beach fronts to that same high standard. As we told the Speaker today, I am committing on behalf of EEA that DEP can lead the task force that has happened in the past, and that task force consists of DEP, DCR. It also involves Department of Public Health. Certainly the MWRA has played a key role. Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, our other stakeholder groups and the city and town officials as we look to address some of the issues, particularly at Donovan's Beach and some of the other municipal beaches. We will bring those same level of resources and testing, which does involve moving back to find the point sources of the possible contamination, which can be an illegal hookup into a sewer system or a combined sewer overflow, or some other issues which I know the town officials are very familiar with, but we can take that same level of resource and bring it to all of the beaches. And there is a great team at DCR, and I'll let the commissioner do the introductions, but I do know that Gary Brier's here, and there's a regular sit down in terms of protocols of water quality. And that needs to be the highest and best that it can be. And I think it is great that the successes on other beaches, because of the Beaches Initiative, is being recognized as kind of the gold standard. And now it is time to take that to all of our beach fronts. So on behalf of EEA, I can make that commitment. We will report back in with the speaker and the other legislators. But make no doubt about it, it is a total team effort. And many people standing here and the organizations that they represent are going to be important to that task force. With that being said, I think I can, Fred does have some of the statistics, particularly for the DCR beaches. Yeah. And Fred, I can just turn it over to you. And
okay.
To Ed.
Okay, like I said, the data is available. We can provide it to you, but as you said, Mr. Secretary, there have been no water quality issues on this beach, a short beach, this year. Over the last 3 years, there were 2 here at this beach and 2 at the short beach. So the water quality is overall very good. Is there always work to do? Yes, there always is work to do. But I think people need to keep in mind what is going on here. We are moving from the macro portion of the cleanup of Boston Harbor to the micro. In the macro, the Deer Island Treatment Plant has run 5 years without any problems. It got an esteemed national award, the Platinum Award, recognized nationally for 5 years of flawless operation. And the statistical data on the water quality in Boston Harbor is irrefutable. It's incredibly positive, and this is now recognized as one of the great environmental cleanups of our time. And that wouldn't have been possible without the strong support of Speaker DeLeo and Senator Petroselli and the other legislators who supported us through the state aid and other issues. Now what we're doing is we're moving from the macro, the big picture, to the small, as the Secretary said, the individual storm drains on beaches. What is up behind that storm drain? Are there illegal connections? Are there broken pipes? What is causing those high bacteria readings in some of these local storm drains? And that's where the task force, the Secretary and Commissioner Lambert will come into play. We'll all work together and literally, almost like detectives, go up with the town, go up through and find out through smoke tests, through dye tests, all kinds of techniques. The City of Boston and Vivian Lee from Boston Harbor Association has been involved with this. The City of Boston is recognized as leaders nationally in illegal hookup detection, and they'll bring their expertise in as well. So I think it's a positive in the sense that the macro has been successful. Now it's to get down to the nuts and the bolts. And I think back, and not to get sentimental, but as you know, a long-term board member, Marie Turner, passed away recently. And she was a staunch advocate for the harbor. And she told me repeatedly, almost to the point where Maria heard it already, about how the raw sludge, the sludge would just come up on the beach, the sea lettuce would grow, and you'd have to have the windows shut all summer long here in Winthrop. So we've come a long way in that sense. And there's some way to go, but we're heading in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Let me just say briefly that folks in this particular area are really very lucky to have the legislative delegation that you have, and I've always been impressed that the Speaker, who has so much on his plate from a policy perspective statewide, never hesitates when he sees me either on the street or in the halls of the State House to ask me about what's happening in his district. And I think that that's really important, and it's a sign of someone who remembers his roots and understands that these are quality of life issues, and they truly are. And both short-term and long-term measures are necessary to ensure that people are not impacted in a negative sense by our resources and the great facilities that we have in the DCR portfolio, but more importantly, that people have access to great, high-quality resources, and that is vital. I was very pleased to hear Fred deliver some of the news relative to the statistics here at Winthrop and in other places. But we also know that that quality of life and that level of water quality is not the same at each and every one of these beaches, and so we have more work to do. And this is a very important time for this initiative that has come from the legislature, from the Senator, from the Speaker, relative to this particular analysis and study, because we have at the agency begun to ramp up our testing program, and Gary Briere is here, who's run our testing program for many years, and Susan Hamilton and her staff here in the region have begun to ramp up the testing program on a daily basis at Lynn so that we can get the data that we need that will help inform that study. And we've already begun discussions with DPH and some of our other partners around how we can ensure that we're accurate, but we're also identifying the source of contamination that impacts that quality of life. And that is the most vital thing. So we're going to work with our community partners. I know a lot of local officials are here as well, to try to identify those sources and do the best that we can to make sure that these resources are not just here, they don't take care of themselves. We've got to nurture them, we've got to upgrade them, and this is a very important part of the process. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the Senator for their leadership on this issue as well.
Jim, you know, this is a great partnership we have here with the Commonwealth and with our legislative delegation, obviously at the forefront of a very important issue to us. We are, at the local level, doing everything we can, both environmentally and financially, to continue to take steps to make sure that our environment is protected. One major investment we took this year alone was to address some of the Donovan Beach issues with infrastructure at Ingleside Park, together with the Speaker's office and the Senator's office, supporting financial strategies both with the SRF fund and other grants as well, to make infrastructure improvements at Ingleside so that we can chase back these issues and understand how our infrastructure plays such a critical role in helping to sustain our environment. We are doing these improvements as we speak. Many of you might see all the work that's being done down at Ingleside Park, and that will lead us to, I think, better outcomes with respect to Donovan's Beach and how we manage stormwater overflows and whatever is impacting our environment in that section of town. As well, there are many plans, as we know, with regard to this beach, and those are moving forward. We're in discussions with the Secretary's office and with DCR about how that project is coming forward, and we'll be developing an implementation plan over the next few months. But we look at each corner of this community and up and down the North Shore to try to address the infrastructure challenges that we all face. Let's be honest. Our infrastructure is aging. It needs to be improved. It needs to be invested in. We as ratepayers, struggle with that. But it's a constant challenge, and the more consciousness that we bring to these issues and make them a strong priority, I think we will address some of these issues, going forward. But for Winthrop, at least, we're making a big investment this year. We've invested over $3 million in improvements at Ingleside Park, and I think that in and of itself will really move us forward in terms of identifying what challenges we have with Donovan's Beach.
Senator?
Yes, real briefly, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for putting this together today. Thank you for everyone for being here. I think, as the Commissioner said, identification of the sources of contamination is such a key ingredient to this. We have a small experience that we had in East Boston at Constitution Beach, where we worked with a lot of the same stakeholders to identify sources of contamination. We had some spikes in days when there were high overflow levels. And you'll be surprised what you actually find out when you do the reconnaissance.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be surprised. Yeah. I mean, over the years, a lot of old buildings, people want to throw a bathroom in. Oh, they just throw a bathroom in, right, in a business or in a residential property. And if it's not done properly, the end result are these levels getting spiked every once in a while. And so, the process works. And although there's only a couple of days that we have seen in the last couple of years where there have been high levels of contamination in our beaches in Winthrop, we won't rest until there's zero. And I know that's the Speaker's a commitment and mine as well. And so it's great to be here, and I know I look forward to getting this done because it can be an effective process. So thank you.
Can I hear from some other folks maybe who would like to address this issue? I think one of the important issues that we want to get out of here today is a couple of things. First of all, that this is an issue that we're aware of and that we're working on. Seems to be that we are ahead of the issue. We're doing well. On the other hand, I am hopeful that first of all, we're going to have some trucks here starting next month to start the beach renourishment here and starting this whole process. And that come next season, that we're going to have not only a beautiful facility, but a facility that's going to have clean water that for all people to enjoy. But with that, I wanted to open up to anyone else from the community. This wasn't meant more as a press conference or anything. It was more meant as a discussion in terms of issues that that the local folks. Mr. President.
Mr. Speaker, I'm impressed by the coordinated effort of all the departments, the Speaker, the Senator, DCR, WRA, the local, all coming together with not only a long time getting this all put together, but the efforts that it took to get it together, but also now focusing on the quality of water throughout the town. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I would like to echo that. I can't say enough. Secretary, Commissioner, the Executive Director, obviously, my colleagues, I mean, since I've been in the House and now a Speaker of the House, I can't think of better folks that we've had in terms of dealing with the concerns that we've had in the environment. And these folks right behind me, right here. I sincerely want to thank you for not only your attention statewide, but for your attention within the confines here. And I really feel bad. I wore this coat today, thinking it was going to rain. Now I'm sweating terribly. And I'm really dying right about now. I was really proud of myself. I had the hat, and I thought I really look effective today, with the hat and the coat. And it just isn't working.
Even Mother Nature knows not to rain on the Speaker.
Boston Latin guy, by the way, right there.
Just a question. This is my precinct 6, and obviously we're going to be starting the nourishment program. Could someone from DCR just give the general public that will be watching a little information as far as timeline? I know you said it's going to be starting in a couple of weeks. Just where it's going to be starting and what your plans are for this season, and that would be great.
We'll be back with the Speaker in a couple of weeks to talk more formally about the schedule. But we have been before the Winthrop Conservation Commission, and the local officials have been very helpful in terms of helping support the work going forward. We expect to start work repairing the groins this fall. The contract is signed and ready to go, so we'll have a groundbreaking sometime very soon, in the next few weeks. That groin work, repair work, will continue next spring, and we're currently before other local groups, the Saugus Conservation Commission and others, relative to preparing for the nourishment itself, which is a project we hope will also then start next year. So people will see visible action and activity here on the beach, but the schedule is moving forward. And obviously it's a major, a significant project, and particularly given the fiscal challenges, it's a credit to the Speaker and the Senator that in spite of that, this project is moving forward. So it's not an easy project to accomplish. The sand will traverse through other communities as well, so we have to be sensitive and work with those communities. But at the end of the day, we know that the Speaker and the Senator want quality of life that has this be the best asset it can be. So that project will be starting.
We want to thank you so much, because the town of Winthrop has waited such a long time for this, and that groundbreaking is going to be a wonderful event. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Probably, well, not only
Senator.
us, I mean, obviously, I think the governor made a commitment to the community, kept that commitment, and, you know, he really is a major part of this as well, through the advice of council and the secretary.
Speaker, I forgot to mention our local watchdog, chairman of the Conservation Commission, Mary Kelly, is being very cautious and making sure everything is done correctly. Many years of service to Mary. Thank you.
I know, she served longer than I have, I think.
No!
That's a long time. I don't want to say how old you are.
Jack Benny.
Well, Mr. Speaking of age, okay, because I probably
Carol
take the
Tye
cake
from the
on this
great
one.
city of Revere.
But on behalf of the folks up the road, at the Beachmont Improvement Committee, the improvements to Short Beach, thank you so much to all of you. The Beachmont, the Revere Beach Partnership, thank you so much for everything. We've seen all that activity, all been very successful. Certainly has improved the quality of our lives, and you've been in the forefront. And we thank you and the senator and all the folks here who have done the job and done it successfully. Thank you.
Thank you. On the first day of school, it's good to have
I
you
know,
here,
first
buddy.
day of school, I'm on my way
Former
there.
superintendent of schools, by the way, in Revere, so. Oh, you're right, and that's thank you, Mr. Secretary. You should remind me like he just reminded me.
He would have, but he's not as close. He was trying to. He made his way over.
Come on, Seth. Tomorrow, we're having the Short Beach dedication at 10 o'clock, and anyone who wishes to come by, very, very exciting day, and the next dedication we're going to have is going to be right here. But seriously, did anyone have any? Vivian, thank you so much for coming. To all the folks at DCR, thank you so much. Trudy from the chamber, thank you. John, thank you for coming. Ron, as a neighbor, go ahead. The former selectman.
It's been about 15 years, but
All right.
I'll be there when the first shovel is.
Okay, great.
We got a picture.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.